You know, in the mid 1970s, Major League Baseball lost its collective mind over free agency. And the biggest nightmare was this guy, although he was a decent pitcher with the Baltimore Orioles, and he wasn't that bad because he hated Earl Weaver, like we all did at the time, especially Blue Jay fans. When he signed a 10-year contract with the Cleveland Indians as part of the, what he called the free agency error or the rights decision, boys, 10-year, $2.3 million. Here we go. He once said nobody's overpaid. He was overpaid for sure. Wayne Garland, born October 26 in Nashville, is a retired American pro baseball player. As a right-hander, he pitched in the major leagues for 9 seasons from 73 to 81, for the Orioles from 73 to 76, and the Cleveland Indians from 77 to 81. He was one of the first 24 ball players who profited from the advent of MLB free agency following the 76 season, when he became the first MLB player to sign a 10-year contract. Now, born on October 26, 1950 in Nashville, he was a basketball star and a field star at Cohen High School in the city. He was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 5th round of the 68 Major League Baseball draft, but did not sign and attended Gulf Coast Junior College. He was then selected in the 69 Major League Baseball draft by the Cardinals, but again did not sign a contract. The Orioles drafted him in the 69 secondary draft and inked him to a contract. Now, he pitched for several years in the minor leagues, posting generally lackluster numbers with a 7-9 record in 72 and 10-11 in 73. However, in the 73 campaign, he led the Rochester Red Wings with 141 strikeouts. He was eventually called up to the major leagues in September 73 and made his debut on September 13th of that year. His first start on September 27th, Garland was a losing pitcher. After spring training in 74, he was sent back to Rochester, but was called up in May as a relief pitcher. Now, this is the Orioles having Palmer, Cuellar, all the great players through the years. Over the season, he made 6 starts, including a game where he pitched 8 innings of no-hit baseball. He continued pitching mostly in relief in 75 and the first half of 76. After the Orioles traded Ken Holtzman and Dole Alexander to the Yankees in June, a spot in the starting rotation opened for Garland. He made the most of his opportunity with a 10-2 record by July and finished with 20 wins against 7 losses. He played 76 without a contract and rejected a mid-season contract offer from the Orioles of $40,000, which would have allowed him to become a free agent. Garland did not get along with manager Earl Weaver, and this was a big sticking point for him to leave the squad. Now, the site's decision allowed players to become free agents for the first time, and 25 of them entered the 76 free agent re-entry draft, which will allow teams to draft negotiating rights with players. Garland was selected in a draft by 12 teams, the maximum allowed. He eventually signed a 10-year contract with the Indians worth a reported $2.3 million, one of the richest of that initial free agent class, and the first 10-year contract for a player in Major League history. Now, Garland had a 13-9 record and a 3.59 ERA in that campaign, but he began to feel pain in his pitching arm. In his first spring training game of 78, he injured it, but continued pitching after receiving cortisone. After 6 regular season starts, he was diagnosed with a torn rotator cuff and underwent surgery. He would sit the rest of the season out while he recovered and was getting paid. He returned in 79, but had 2 more stints on the disabled list and finished the year 4-10. Garland's 1980 campaign was a bit better as he threw 150 innings for Cleveland and went 6-9, but threw a 2-hit shutout on July 3rd. The 81 season was interrupted by a player's strike that lasted 2 months. He was working as a knuckleballer to overcome the shoulder injuries that damaged his arm, but after the season, he was released by the Indians. After being let go, he was unable to get a tryout with any major league teams or any AAA minor league squads. He attempted to come back as a knuckleballer with the Yankees' AA minor league affiliate, but was released before getting another chance in the major leagues. Now, in the late 80s, he was a pitching coach for the Nashville Sounds and worked in the Pirates organization as a coach in the 1990s, but a sore back, one that required 6 surgeries, derailed him from continuing to serve as a coach. Now, Lee Montville, a very good writer for Sports Illustrated, talked about him in the 1990 article, The First to Be Free. Now, it happened, ladies and gentlemen, in an article with the LA Times, said Wayne Garland recalls his historic contract. Wayne Garland can't recite the conversation word for word even 11 years later. His agent, Jerry Capstein, had called with the news of a deal with the Indians. All he needed was a signature. He said, Wayne, I didn't get you $1 million, but it's pretty close. I said, Jerry, I'm sure you did the best you could. He said, you got a 10-year contract for over $2 million. I said, Jerry, I'm not worth it. He said, well, obviously someone thinks you are. Someone did. The Indians had finished fourth in 76 and wanting to improve their pitching, offered Garland $2.3 million over 10 years. He didn't know it then, but that deal would hurl him into baseball history. His case symbolizes the debate that may produce a strike in 1990. This was a few years ago. How much money is too much, and what risk would to the club? Garland took a 27 record with the 76 Orioles onto the open market, showing what the right pitcher could earn for the right employer. A torn rotator cuff, however, made him an example of how investments go wrong. Now, Garland said, when he stepped over that white line, he gave 100% every time. I'd much rather be known for that because the contract is over with me, and I'm still here. Now, Garland, a 6-foot, 109-pound right-hander, was 25 at the time of the contract, played the 1976 season for Baltimore without a deal. If he had suffered a severe injury, he would have been worth nothing on the market. And again, I took a gamble, he said. It was the biggest risk I ever took. God forbid if it hurt my arm. Some of his teammates took the same risks. Reggie Jackson wound up playing in New York. He was in Baltimore that year. Gritch went to the Angels. They all prospered in a market in which clubs were eager to spend. Garland said he and Capstein discussed the possibility of a 5-year deal worth $1 million. Then came Cleveland's offer. He called his mom and broke the news to her, just as Capstein had broken it to him. I said, I didn't get my $1 million. She said, money's not everything. I said, I got $2 million. And she said, you're not worth it. I carried that for a long time, Garland said. I remember what Jerry Capstein said. If somebody thought you were worth it, you were. And he said the same thing. He wasn't, but not for lack of trying. He went 13-9 in that 77 campaign. I wish I could pinpoint where it went wrong. Like my doctor told me, you only have so many pitchers left in your arm. It started in spring training. It bothered me on and off. There were a couple of times I went out and tried to prove that Wayne Garland was worth the money. Over the winter I rested it. I got to spring training. It was fine. I heard it in the first exhibition game. I tried to throw too hard too soon and never got better. The virtual end came one day in the game against Oakland. He was pitching. It was obvious he had nothing. He called pitcher coach Dave Duncan from the dugout and admitted to pain. We knew something is wrong, Duncan said. The examination with Dr. Frank Joby revealed a torn rotator cuff. Today, doctors know more to prevent and cure that injury, but not then. It was a career ender. Now, Garland left the majors with a 55-66 lifetime record and 3.89 ERA. Since then, again, he worked in Milwaukee's farm system as head coach at Aquinas Junior College in Nashville and spent some time with the Reds organization. Nowadays, $2.3 million for 10 years doesn't sound like much. Some players make nearly that much for one season. This is 1990. It was a bargain compared to what salaries are today, he said. I can honestly say it's going to have to stop somewhere. But it hasn't yet, and Garland owns a niche as a $2.3 million man. The question is whether it's a price he received or one he had to pay. So this article was by the great Mike Tully of the LA Times via UPI, very good baseball writer. So ladies and gentlemen, what are we worth in this life? Like, for example, I worked as the best sports reporter in Canada for maybe 2 years. I was making a little bit over $30,000. At a bigger publication in the States, I'm making $500,000. He always said you're paid what you're worth or what they give you. You can't say you're underpaid. But Wayne Garland, for that 76 season, despite Earl Weaver, and the Orioles were always a factor in the 70s, he was a great pitcher. But one-year wonders are not worth $2.3 million for 10 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, give us a like, comment, subscribe on our Sports File podcast. If you're an Orioles fan, tell me how you hate Earl Weaver or how you love the prick. Have a good one. Bye.